Bartholow? Here. Board Member Badenfort is absent. Vice Chair Arnone?
Here.
Chair Galvin?
Here.
Let the record reflect that all board members are present with the exceptions of board members Badenfort and Wright.
Great. Again, good afternoon. At this time, I'd like to welcome Matt Mullen, who is going to be given the oath to join our board again. So Matt, if you come down, please.
Right hand and repeat after me. I, Matthew Mullen,
I, Matthew Mullen,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear the true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Welcome. Please join us up here. And if you are so inclined, you're more than willing to make any comments you'd like to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would only just add, it's a pleasure to be back on this board. I look forward to working with all of you on all the good programs and projects that this board has historically provided. And lastly, would like to thank Council Member Fleming for appointing me and placing the trust in such an important mission that this board has. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're greatly appreciative and glad to have you back. At this time, we'll open it up for public comments on item number 3. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing none. Item 4 is a statement of abstention by board members. Do we have any? Hearing none. We have no study session. We have the minutes for December 19th that were in our packet. At this time, I'll open it up for public comments on item number 6.1. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing no one, the minutes will be approved and entered. We'll now move to our one staff briefing. Director Burke.
Thank you, Chair Galvin, members of the board, and welcome new board member Mullen. Our first staff briefing will be our water and recycled water update, and Peter Martin, Deputy Director, Water Resources, and Andrew Romero, Wastewater Reclamation Superintendent, will be presenting.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. Afternoon, Chair Galvin, members of the board. Always a pleasure to be before you with a full water supply update. I'll kick this off. Just a quick reminder that Sonoma Water is operating under a temporary change order that was issued on October 31st. Again, this is a effort that they do related to their water rights, which requires that their minimum in-stream flows be tied to cumulative inflow into the upper portions of the Eel River and Lake Pillsbury. And instead, they take that indicator and move it down to storage in Lake Mendocino. As you're aware, over the years, the diversions from the Potter Valley project have, slowly diminished due to PG&E's changes in operations over the years, and so it creates a disconnect between the two watersheds. So instead, more correctly, they utilize the storage in Lake Mendocino during this time. No surprise, there's plenty of channel inflow going into the Russian River right now. So they are operating under normal conditions for the water supply this year. As of today, again, that gets revisited every month under the order, which requires that they maintain 150 cubic feet per second in the upper Russian River and 125 in the lower. In terms of storage in Lake Pillsbury, as of today, there is about 64,500 acre feet of storage, well above their target storage for this time of year. And then just in general, they continue to operate under the same conditions they've been operating under the last few years, which includes, as you can see, the lines, with the exception of the blue line there, which was 2019. For the past several years, they have not been able to operate the slide gates, which would allow them to store an additional 20,000 acre feet of water in the spring. You can see the curve sort of changes there in terms of the target storage supply curve. And that is related to some seismic issues that they have at that dam that has changed their ability to store that water. So won't expect any additional water being stored there beyond the levels that you're seeing at a maximum today. So, in terms of Lake Mendocino, storage again is well above the forecast informed reservoir operations pool. As of today, they are seeing storage of about 90,800 acre feet. That, of course, means that the Army Corps has taken over decisions a while ago, dating back to the end of last year, in terms of managing releases for flood control purposes. They made some about 24 hours of releases on the 31st last week, and it's very likely that they again will manage releases in both Lake Mendocino and Lake Sonoma this week, later on, probably this weekend as well. So expect that they're going to have to draw that back down to get back under that flood control storage pool level. Lake Sonoma, where we get our water supply, is also very, very full. Notably, if you look at the top dotted line there, later on in March, or towards the end of this month, they'll start being able to store additional storage for up to an amount maximized of 19,000 acre feet. So they're already pretty close to that. As of today, they're at 284,500 acre feet above the FURO storage pool. So again, it's likely they'll have plenty of opportunities to maximize carryover storage this year as well. I wanted to highlight a substantial outreach effort that we're doing right now as a regional effort between the Sonoma-Marin Saving Water Partnership. We kicked off the Dye Tab Challenge, and it runs through March to coincide with Fix a Leak Week. We'll be sending out bill inserts, and there'll be lots of social media that kicked off already. Essentially, we're asking customers to take the Dye Tab Challenge, where they request dye tabs to test for leaks in their toilets, and they can enter to win a $25 gift card. This is a outreach effort project that's going on amongst all the partners in the Sonoma-Marin Saving Water Partnership, but Santa Rosa obviously is participating, and we've done this in the past and have gotten quite a few opportunities to partner with folks on fixing leaks in their houses, so it works. And then just to provide, mostly a good news update in terms of our grant-funded programs for direct install for ultra-high efficiency toilets. We're getting close to 100% completion of the phase 1 project that was funded through the budget process in 2022-23 from the state. That was a $1.5 million ask that we received for the program. We have about $170,000 remaining in that budget, trying to package up a large grouping of commercial installs right now. But we're getting very close, and in the end, we'll have about a little over 1,800 packages that will be installed. That phase one project is completed, or is nearly completed, and we're already working into the phase two funding, which was funded through the Bureau of Reclamation's Water Smart program. It is one of several projects that are being funded through an application that went through to Sonoma Water. We've already begun some targeted outreach to low-income residents. We started talking to folks that were on the wait list in phase one of the direct install program. And there will be some bill inserts, which you can see a lot like what you see there, going out in April. So we're really ramping up the outreach. This is residential only installs, so multifamily and single-family residential. But we're already building up the opportunity to get the contractors out and get those installed pretty rapidly. So we're pretty optimistic we're going to be able to have folks have all those toilets spoken for pretty quickly once we get the outreach ramped up. So. And then, excuse me, notably, I think there was an article in the Press Democrat today, but PG&E did last Friday distribute their draft license surrender and decommissioning application to, or excuse me, they did not submit it. They released it for public comment. That starts a 30-day public comment period that they are facilitating. It has two components. There is PG&E's draft application for the surrender of their Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, license for the Potter Valley project, and then a decommissioning plan that includes the removal of the two dams on the Eel River. Also, a secondary component of that is an application where they incorporated the Eel Russian Project Authority's proposal to construct what they're calling the new Eel Russian facility, or the NERF. This would be the future diversion of water from the Eel River into the Upper Russian River, operated by the ERPA, the Eel Russian Project Authority. As of today, they have a 30% design on that project and diversion. They have received some funding. The ERPA has funded about $2 million from the Bureau of Reclamation to bring it to 60% design. So they're well in the process of continuing to make progress on the design of that. It is an interesting component. It's what's called non-project use of project lands, but it's obviously in the footprint of the existing FERC license. So that's the other components of where you see that non-project use of project lands. So deadline for comments is coming quick. In terms of the next steps, they will continue consultation with the resource agencies and tribes after that. And PG&E is on the clock for filing and the distribution of the final application to FERC on July 29th. So obviously a lot to come in the next few months. It's a more than 2,000-page document if you need some bedtime reading. But it's full of a lot of interesting elements about how they're planning to decommission the project. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. I'm going to hand it over to Andrew Romero.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Galvin and members of the board. My name is Andrew Romero, Reclamation Superintendent, and I'll be providing you with the recycled water update. So this first slide is the recycled water production graph. The black line is the current year's flows, and the purple line is the average plant flows starting from 1986 to 2024. You can see that it was trending about 10 million gallons a day higher than average flows for the month of December of 2024. Due to dry weather for the month of January, plant flows have dropped, but with this recent rain event, we expect flows to increase to 40 to 50 MGD range. This increase in production is caused by the wet weather we have had since the late fall of 2024. This next slide is a recent snapshot of the recycled water curve. As a reminder, the red line is this year's storage level as of October 1st, 2024. The gray line is the average levels, and the black line is last year's levels for comparison. This year we received a significant rainfall in a short period of time, so this has increased our storage levels about 300 million gallons above average for this time of year. With storage levels very high for this time of year and with more expected rain, staff have decided a discharge, which I will discuss later in the next few slides. This graph shows our discharge trend. We don't have all the data available for this water year's expected discharge shown in the gray because we are still in the middle of winter. However, we are currently discharging another 300 million gallons. This is in addition to the 300 million gallons that we discharged in the end of December of 2024. Therefore, we expect to see the gray bar reach the 600 million gallon level on this graph. Furthermore, the last 3 years have had significant rainfall, which has led to discharges, but this is great for the overall region. This next slide shows the estimated credits used for this current discharge and how many credits we expect to have remaining. For example, we plan to discharge up to 300 million gallons, so we expect to use just shy of 2,000 credits for the water year of 24 to 25, and expect to have about 15,000 credits remaining after this most recent discharge. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you to both of you. I'll open it up for board member questions or comments. Vice Chair Arnone.
Thanks for the report. I just have a question about slide 11. There's 2 lines on that graph. One says maximum storage capacity. The other one says upper limit. What's the difference?
Yeah, we need the 2 feet of freeboard. So our upper limit is our operating level. Oops, sorry. Is our operating level, and the max is the max. So that's where we don't want to be, because that's where you could spill over the overflow. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other board member questions or comments?
Excuse me.
Board member DeWitt? Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Martin had explained the situation with the decommissioning of the dam, and the Federal Energy Regulation Commission, because it's federal, will there be any kind of a hiccup due to the changeover with the new folks that are there to oversee some of these types of things? Thank you.
We have not been made aware of any difference in potentially the schedule for the FERC proceeding. At this point, FERC has not had any role because they won't be submitting that application until July 29th. That formally begins that process for them. So I guess we'll likely understand more then.
Board member Mullen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to piggyback on the Potter Valley changes, it's been in the works for many, many years, and it looks like it's sort of moving towards the finish line. Is Sonoma Water the lead agency to represent all the water purveyors in the region, or are we encouraged individually to add comments to whatever they're going to submit?
So, yeah, that's a good question. Sonoma Water is one of the parties, including Mendocino Inland Water and Power Commission, Round Valley Indian Tribes, and, Sonoma County, Sonoma County, thank you. And so they are taking the lead in terms of a lot of the efforts for modeling the project and in some ways the technical elements of supporting the design of the project. But yes, I believe they are seeking input, PG&E specifically, from a wide array of members of the public on this plan. I anticipate Sonoma Water will have technical comments, and we are also, I think I can talk a little bit about the WAC's role, right, Director Burke? Yeah, okay. The Water Advisory Committee to Sonoma Water did receive some information at their last meeting, and there is a possibility that the contractors to Sonoma Water would also be providing some comments as well, if deemed necessary.
Thank you. One other question about the annual balancing we do on recycled water storage and demand. Do we expect that the geysers deliveries are going to help us, or are we focusing just mainly on using up this credit for releases?
Yeah, we're at max pumping capacity already with the geysers, and we have been for over a month now. We're limited with how much water we can move up to the geysers, and so that difference from the plant flows has to go in storage. But we're maxed out in the geysers flows currently.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Other board member questions or comments? All right, we'll now open it up for public comment on item number 7.1. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing no one, that will take care of item 7.1. We have one item on the consent calendar, item 8.1.
I'll move adoption of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Vice Chair Arnone, seconded by Board Member Bartholow, to approve the consent calendar, item 8.1. This time I'll open it up for public comment on item 8.1. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing no one rise, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Mullen?
Aye.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes.
Board Member Bartholow?
Aye.
Vice Chair Arnone?
Aye.
And Chair Galvin?
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect that passes unanimously with board members Wright and Badenford absent.
Thank you. That'll take care of the consent calendar. We'll now move to item 9.1. Director Burke.
Thank you, Chair Galvin and members of the board. Item 9.1 is a contract award professional services agreement with Hazen and Sawyer for 90% design of Laguna Treatment Plant Headwork Superstructure Seismic Retrofit Project. And Tanya Mukvitz, our water reuse engineer, will be making the presentation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Garland and members of the board. My name is Tanya Mokwitz. I'm a water use engineer, and I'm at Laguna Treatment Plant. It's been a while since I presented to all of you, so a little bit rusty, but it's very nice to see all of you and bring this item forward. The item I'm presenting in front of you today is recommendation for approval for project service agreement for Laguna Treatment Plant Superstructure Seismic Retrofit with Hazen and Sawyer. So in today's presentation, I will dive into the project background. I will go over the project components. I will present the project design and construction cost. I'll discuss the potential FEMA grant. I'll talk about the consultant selection process, describe the next steps, and finally I'll provide recommendation. But before I move on to the next slide, I would like to direct your attention on a picture. Just later on in my presentation, I will be talking about the project components. So just for orientation purposes, on this picture, the headworks is outlined in a red rectangle, and the primary sedimentation tanks are in yellow, and digester gallery is in purple. So the project background, I'll go over the headworks function and what the project is about. As you know, our regional treatment plant treats wastewater from Santa Rosa and regional partners. The treatment process starts at headworks, where all flow enter the facility via collectors at approximately 40 feet deep. The picture on the left shows headworks cross-section when it was originally constructed way back in around 1975. So the headworks is 4-story high and houses the pump station, motor room, control room, and various equipment on the ground floor. The picture on the right shows a portion of the fine screens, which are spanning 3 floors high and are critical to our headworks treatment process. So as you can see, the headworks is a very critical infrastructure. It is the workhorse of the regional facility and the foundation of our treatment process. So continue with the headworks overview. The pictures on the slide depict a portion of the headworks ground floor, which houses various mechanical and electrical equipment. So the red hatches emphasize concrete superstructure that's surrounding the equipment. So now we will dive into the structure deficiency and the project approach. As you saw on the previous slide, on the picture and on the picture to the right, the headworks facility is surrounded by at-grade superstructure that comprises of concrete beams, columns, and roof panels. Due to exposure to corrosive gases, concrete and metallic components of the structure and equipment within it are deteriorated and reached the end of its useful life. In addition to structure concerns, the equipment is located nearly 40 feet below grade, and it's very difficult to access and properly maintain. Also, the design of the headworks is outdated, and equipment is vulnerable to flooding if surrounding channels fail due to the earthquake. So the city partnered with Hazen and Sawyer in 2022 to perform seismic loading and structural condition assessment and find alternatives to improve the reliability and the safety of the headworks superstructure. Due to significant deficiencies and structure degradation, the full replacement of headworks is needed. But due to $300 million cost, it is not feasible in the near future, so we looked at other alternatives. Now, I would like to bring your attention to the picture on the right. If you look closely, you can see that the column exhibits signs of concrete degradation due to cracking. This is one of many examples of failing concrete of the superstructure. So in order to temporarily retrofit the existing structure, 4 alternatives were developed and evaluated. The superstructure demolition and equipment frame and construction with a cost of approximately $12.7 million. Pre-engineer's metal canopy, $17 million. Tent canopy, $15.5 million. And carbon fiber wrapping of $3.7 million. Now, please note that all costs on these slides are in 2023 dollars. So alternative 4, carbon fiber wrapping of existing columns, was chosen due to the lowest cost and meeting the needs to improve seismic reliability before a new headworks can be built to replace the existing. So now we will dive into the project scope and components. As we saw on previous slide, carbon fiber wrapping was chosen for the design. In addition to the lowered cost, it does not require equipment relocation or structure demolition, and it minimizes the impact on operation. Once the design starts, the consultant will perform a finite element analysis for the concrete moment frames and the design of wrapping system. The picture on the right is showing an example of such application. So now we'll discuss the other project components. As I mentioned earlier in presentation, due to exposure to corrosive gases, multiple concrete and metallic components of the headwork structure and equipment within it are deteriorated. So as part of this project, we will rehabilitate all 4 corroded monorails and chain hoists and repair concrete beams and roof panels in the headworks. So pictures on the slide are a classic example of sulfuric acid attack on the concrete and metal. Now we're going to talk about primary sedimentation tanks and digester gallery. Unfortunately, due to age of the treatment plant, the damage to the concrete also present in other critical infrastructures, such as primary sedimentation tanks and digester gallery. As you can see on those pictures, there is evident seepage through the concrete from the adjacent primary tanks, that's the picture on the left, and the digester, the picture on the right. As part of this project, we will repair the cracks in spoiled concrete on all 8 cementation tanks and underground digester gallery. So moving on to discuss the project cost. On this slide, all costs are in $2025. So the main objective of the project is retrofitting the existing columns with carbon wrapping, the design cost of which is approximately $314,000 and a construction cost of $5 million. A portion of the cost of this project component is potentially going to be reimbursed by FEMA, and I'll go over the FEMA process on the next slide. The other components of the project are monorails rehabilitation, primary sedimentation tank concrete repair, and digester gallery concrete repair, with associated cost of approximately $43,000 each. The construction cost of all those 3 components is $2 million. So please note that even though those costs will not be reimbursed by FEMA, it is critical that we repair all 3 components in order to extend concrete structure useful life. So to summarize the project cost, the design cost of the whole project is approximately $443,000, and the construction is $7 million. So let's talk about the potential FEMA grant. The city has applied for a FEMA hazardous mitigation plan, grant. Since Cal OES recommended the project to FEMA for further review in September of 2024, the preliminary results of the approval process are considered very promising. In order to award grant, 90% design documents are required to be completed by FEMA. Therefore, the scope of professional service agreement includes development of 90% design documents. If the grant is awarded, FEMA will fund completion of the design from 90% to 100% and at least 75% of construction cost. In which case, a contract amendment with Hazen and Sawyer will be pursued in the future for the balance of the design. So to summarize it all, the grant will cover at least $2.8 million of the total project cost. Unfortunately, the grant award timeframe is not known at this time. So now we'll switch our discussion to the consultant selection process. The project was advertised on September 17 of 2024 with a due date of October 14. One proposal was received from Hazen and Sawyer. So staff reached out to consultant to understand why others did not submit proposals. So staff found that due to unique technical expertise required for this project, the pool of qualified engineering consultants was limited. Additionally, the qualified firms the city identified were at the time committed to other projects and unable to submit proposals within a time frame of RFP. Subsequently, the proposal was evaluated by Deputy Director, Regional Water Reuse Operations, Treatment Plant Superintendent, and Water Reuse Engineer in accordance with Government Code 4526. His proposal was selected based on responsiveness to the RFP requirements, qualification of the project team, understanding of work to be completed, previous experience, and demonstrated technical ability. Also, the design fee and estimate was reviewed and determined to be reasonable and fair for the proposed scope of work. So what are the next steps of the process? Once the professional service agreement is executed, we're planning to complete 90% design within a year. Then, pending FEMA grant determination, we will confirm funding needs, whether funding will come solely from CAP or if we receive reimbursement from FEMA. Just to clarify, in any case, whether we receive funding or not, this project has to be implemented as soon as possible in order to meet current seismic safety codes and requirements to prevent major injuries, loss of life, and disruption in a plant in case of the earthquake. And with that, it is recommended by Santa Rosa Water that the Board of Public Utilities by motion approve professional service agreement with Hazen and Sawyer to provide professional design services for Laguna Treatment Plant Headwork Superstructure Seismic Retrofit Project in amount not to exceed $443,626. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would be happy to address any questions that you might have.
Thank you for the presentation. I'll open it up now for any board member questions or comments. Board Member Bartholow.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. Thank you for the presentation. My question is with regard to the slide titled Project Background. It was kind of in the very beginning where you're comparing the alternative to the cost. It starts with the superstructure demolition and ends with the carbon fiber wrapping for
This one?
$3.7 million. Yes. I'm just curious, so those are 4 different ways to approach the problem. Is there a difference in the amount of time, because it, you know, without demolishing it and rebuilding it, it's kind of a Band-Aid in a way, right? To strengthen it enough to make it safe to occupy.
That's correct. The carbon fiber wrapping, it is a temporarily Band-Aid.
Yeah,
to
okay.
the structure.
Okay, which makes sense because it's, you know, the most, I'll say reasonably priced, but the cheapest.
And least disruptive.
And least disruptive, okay. But how much time does each of those alternatives sort of, you know, keep that Band-Aid on, so to speak? Because it's kind of hard to compare if, you know, say the carbon fiber for 3.7 that will substantiate for the 5 years, whereas maybe the pre-engineered metal canopy for 17 would, do you see what I'm asking?
Yes,
Like,
that's a very good question. I think I'm going to let Mark Solomon from Hazen and Sawyer help me with that.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board and staff, Mark Solomon with Hazen and Sawyer. Good question, very good question. It's hard to give an exact answer, but certainly the carbon fiber is anticipated to last 10 years or more. The tent canopy is probably similar. Pre-engineered metal canopy will vary in terms of its lifespan, but this would be a fairly low-end type canopy. So its life would probably be more than 10 years, but less than, probably around 15 years or so, I'll say, plus or minus. And then the first item up there hard to say. That's where you're taking the structure down and just putting some temporary supports in there to support equipment that's on the roof. So that probably has a life of 10 years or so, plus or minus. So very similar in terms of their lifespan. Probably the pre-engineered metal building has the longest lifespan.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, please. Go ahead. Yes, thank you for that presentation. And I appreciate the efforts to make this as helpful as possible as soon as possible. One of the dilemmas we face is finding money, and I was curious if there's been a effort to look for other funding sources should FEMA somehow have a different approach in the future. Is there state grants? Are there foundation fundings? Are there other monies out there that might be helpful to us?
I'm not aware of any.
Through the chair, Board Member DeWitt. So this project, we are providing funding through our cash-funded CIP. If we are unsuccessful in getting the grant, we would look to ensure that we are going to find the funding. We are also looking at and preparing for a bond sale. There might be some excess bond proceeds. So we will fund this project regardless, depending upon you know, if we're successful the grant, which seems likely, we will fund the project. No, we're good.
If I may add a little bit, Deputy Director Mike Prins, Regional Water Reuse Operations. Through the grant application process, there was discussion about potentially getting some matching funds through I think it's a state program, but the fact that a portion of the sewer shed that's is served by the Laguna Treatment Plant is somewhat disadvantaged or considered a lower economic population. We may qualify for additional funding along those lines, but that is more up in the air, I guess I would say. So there may be some other avenues for alternative funding. That is, I don't have as clear a picture of where that is right now, but that would be, I believe, in addition to any FEMA-related grants. So that is hopefully going to come through, but we don't know.
May I respond? Thank you kindly for that effort, and I would hope that we prepare for the worst, look for every dollar we can everywhere, and then hopefully there won't be a disruption at the federal level. I also wanted to ask about the most current seismic safety information. Are you folks linked into the state's seismic research bodies that tell us if things are getting closer to an earthquake? They have a predictor out there now.
Is that in I don't think so. Is that in reference to earthquake predictions or standards, seismic standards?
Seismic safety relies upon the idea that you're preparing for the worst case earthquake to come. And there are certain research bodies now in the state that work on predicting where a fault might actually have a problem. So I was just curious if we were linked into that. Thank you, sir.
I don't think so, but what we have followed very strictly are FEMA's requirements regarding seismic stability and recurrence intervals. It's actually a pretty complicated process that we did have to go through to develop the benefit cost ratio for the project. So I suspect FEMA is connected to those sorts of things, but I don't know that we departmentally are connected to that information.
I'll leave it with this. Some people think there's 4 alternative seasons in California: drought, earthquake, fire, flood. We've had the drought, the fire, now we've got the flood. So next up, earthquake. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Other board member questions or comments? All right, thank you. I'll now open it up for public comment on item number 9.1. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing none, may we have a roll call vote, please? I'm sorry, we need a motion.
I'll
Important part there.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Public Utilities approve a professional services agreement with Hazen and Sawyer to provide professional design services for the Laguna Treatment Plant Headworks Superstructure Seismic Retrofit Project in the amount not to exceed $443,626.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chair Arnone, seconded by Board Member Mullen. Now we'll open it up for public comment. Seeing no one rise, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Mullen?
Aye.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes.
Board Member Bartholow?
Aye.
Vice Chair Arnone?
Aye.
Chair Galvin?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously with Board Members Wright and Badenford absent.
Great. Thank you again for the presentation. Good luck on the project. Item number 10 is public comments on non-agenda matters. If you wish to make a comment on a non-agenda matter, please move to the podium. Seeing no one rise. Item number 11, we have no referrals, we have no written communications, we have no subcommittee reports, but I did want to report to the board and the public that we're still awaiting a couple of appointments to the BPU, at which time we will take a look again at our committee assignments and perhaps make some adjustments, so just stand by for that one. So we'll take any public comments on the subcommittee report I just delivered. Seeing no one. Any board member reports? Director's
Yes,
report.
I'd like to ask.
Yes, go right ahead.
I'd like to ask about the Water Conservation Subcommittee and if it can operate without these extra board members we're waiting for.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. We actually do not have a full committee at this time. So Chair Galvin will be making appointments, I'm hoping, before the end of this month. And then we'll get that out to the full board, and then we can start scheduling subcommittee meetings.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Director's report.
Thank you, Chair Galvin and members of the board. First, I just wanted to note and congratulate a number of our board members who've been reappointed. So we are aware that council members have reappointed board members Bartholow, Badenford, and Wright. So congratulations. And our plan is to swear each of those reappointed board members in at the next meeting that they attend. And so we should be very close to a full board soon. So congratulations. Second, I wanted to let the board know that the Santa Rosa Plain Groundwater Sustainability Agency received a $5.3 million grant award to implement several projects, studies, and measures that were included in the Santa Rosa Plain Groundwater Sustainability Plan. And one of the identified projects is to do a feasibility study of opportunities for aquifer storage and recovery, or basically groundwater recharge. And Santa Rosa Water staff are working with the GSA staff and their consultant to look at utilizing our Martha Way test well. So some of the board members may recall that we actually completed a test well back in 2010 on Martha Way. And it was to give us a better understanding of the geology and potentially see if we could site a groundwater well in that area. Since that test well was completed, it has been used as a regional monitoring well. So working with the GSA, this could potentially be one location where they would do this feasibility study for aquifer storage and recovery, and they're also looking at a well in Roner Park. It would consist, if this moves forward, the study would consist of 2 phases, pardon me. The first phase would be to rehabilitate the test well by physically scrubbing and cleaning portions of the well. And then the second phase would involve a short duration of introducing water from the city's distribution system, then pumping and continuous monitoring of any geophysical changes in the test well and adjacent wells. The project is contingent on the GSA first obtaining a permit from the Regional Water Quality Control Board and also working with us on a right-of-way license. But we're excited about this opportunity, and we are going to continue to work with the GSA, and we will return to the board with updates as this project progresses. And that's my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Vice Chair Arnone?
Yes, about the use of the Martha well, I think you call it. Is that one of the wells that we were considering as an additional source of water in our long-term water supply as the preferred method of adding to our water supply being to convert test wells into production wells? So would we be taking the Martha well out of potential production?
So thank you, Vice Chair Arnone. That's a great question. The Martha Way well has a couple constraints. One is the property is a very small property in that it was very difficult for us to be able to potentially use it to construct any pump house or facility. The second concern that we had was that it's definitely correlating with farmers' lane wells, and so we did not want to potentially use that to take away or draw down any water from our farmers' lane wells. That said, and Deputy Director Martin can correct me if I'm wrong, but this feasibility study will not impact our ability to potentially use this well in the future if we determine that we can use it in some purpose. It's just for right now, it's serving as a monitoring well, and we are not looking to convert it at this time because of those two constraints.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes, thank you for that nice explanation, and I apologize if I'm underinformed. Quarter of a century ago, when people were talking about aquifer recharge over in the southwest area of Santa Rosa, there were a number of folks who were frightened by that concept. And I'm curious, the water that you're going to be recharging with, is this going to be something that will be used in the future as potable water, or what is occurring here?
Yes, so it's potable water from the city's distribution system.
Well, this is a storage site that can then be pulled back from. All righty, I get it now. Thank you kindly for your time.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Wallen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So following up on Board Member DeWitt's question about what's going to go into this well, is the distribution will feed it, I understand that part of it, but the water supply, is it coming from our current entitlements, or is it overflow water, excess water?
So at this time, the water would be water we would purchase from Sonoma Water, and I don't anticipate that we're going to be using, it's going to be a test, so a feasibility study, so it's a study to see what that water supply would do to the underground basin. It's not going to be a continuous pump into the ground, store, bring back up. This is really just, is it feasible to consider in the future? So yes, this would be water we'd be purchasing. And I don't know, do we have a sense of how much water would be used in that test? I'm going to ask Deputy Director Peter Martin to respond to that.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad this is generating a lot of questions, actually. So it's a real short duration. It's about no more than a week. And really, they're going to put loggers into the well. It's right now, there's nothing in the well. There's no pump, no nothing. And then probably co-locate a pump there as well. So what they would do is take water from the distribution system. I believe it's either a 6-inch or an 8-inch line that's just right there in the vicinity of the Martha Way well. We could tap into it, put about a 2-inch tap out of that, and introduce, a few hundred gallons per minute, and then, go through periods of pumping it out, either discharging to land right next door on the greenway or to the sewer. Then, it would just be a matter of a technical exercise to see how, everything balances out. So it's more of understanding of if there's capacity in that area for a project like this. This is a aquifer storage and recovery in this basin is still quite an unknown. There's not a lot of homogeneity of the underlying geology, right? There's all these layers and aquitards and things that permeate the Santa Rosa Plain subbasin. If you were in the Central Valley, you have these nice open, unconfined aquifers where the rain penetrates and goes down. This is a little different. So this is really just a feasibility technical exercise. So, you know, this will inform the ability to do more projects like this. And we did do our Water Future project, the Water Supply Alternatives Plan, and part of that, this board asked staff to investigate the feasibility of aquifer storage and recovery. So to have somebody like the Groundwater Sustainability Agency come in and do this investigation with using grant funding is a huge advantage for us in that regard. But right now, this is just you know, conceptual level discussions. There are a lot of permitting hurdles and things like that that need to occur, but they have a limited time to spend this money, so the hopes is that we could conclude the work in about a year.
I appreciate that. So if I understand, and forgive me if the board's already talked about this, but the aquifer storage is sort of a new frontier for water suppliers, and certainly in this region. And so this is sort of our first step into the arena. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I would say it's a fair assessment. Sonoma Water has received quite a bit of grant funding over the last few years. They have the 3 emergency supply wells that they had, that being the one on Todd Road, Occidental, and Sebastopol Road. Yes, three wells. They are in the process through converting those to achieve the new groundwater surface treatment rule requirements. They, at the same time, are designing those wells to be able to do the same, because they have a great, you know, it's right there on the aqueduct, right? So the opportunity to introduce water and then again pump it back out and return it is optimal there. So they have taken that extra step to going towards designing, and likely they will be pursuing those wells in the future as well for our regional benefit.
I will just add that we have, there is a test pilot that's been done in Sonoma Valley, Groundwater Sustainability Agency with Valley of the Moon and Sonoma Water. And so these will be 2 that will be in this groundwater sustainability or groundwater basin. So really, it's really about trying to see physically if there's capacity to do this. And if so, then there would be a lot more pieces, but this is really just a feasibility exercise.
Thank you very much.
Board Member DeWitt?
Yes, I commend you. Before you get up, Mr. Martin, I want to say thank you for your presentation there, and then also hope that in your efforts on this feasibility, you'll stay connected in with the person at the county and make sure as they get their successes at their other wells that we have a really nice interaction and a coordinated effort to make aquifer recharge really work if it is found to be useful and not contaminating of the potable water, etc. This could be really wonderful. It's been talked about by many folks for a long while, and I hope you'll be our contact person on this.
Well, yeah, my team is working on a variety of groundwater projects, and this is one of them. So
I'll always ask Ms. Burke first before I come to bother you. Nothing but a good time. Thank you, sir.
Other board member questions or comments? All right, we'll open it up for public comment on item number 15. If you wish to make a comment, please move to the podium. Seeing no one, that will conclude our agenda for today. So we are adjourned.